Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about how Donald Trump is going crazy and completely frustrated with the war. His inability to wrestle the control over the Strait of Hormuz from Donald Trump, his inability to make Iran surrender, sorry, steal the Strait of Hormuz from Iran, his inability to essentially make Iran fully surrender and do whatever he wishes with absolutely no cost is frustrating him and driving him crazy. He really does not know what to do. Well, this is a man who chose not to listen to his own intelligence community. This is a man who chooses not to listen to his own military officers and generals. When the generals disagree with him, he fires them. So, who is he listening to? He listens to foreign countries, heads of foreign governments, foreign intelligence, basically Israel, and he decides to go into this war. And now he discovers that the intelligence estimates that he has received, the briefing that he has received about Iran and its capabilities and its intentions, and even the public. I mean, these guys were expecting that the Iranian public would rise, will be so thrilled that their country is being bombed by Israel and America, that the Iranians will be thrilled. Yes, there are some Americans, Indian, Iranian Americans, who are thrilled that their country is being bombed into Stone Age. These are people who are not even going to go back to Iran if they get their king. They want a king installed. These are people who live in a democracy but are desiring a monarchy for their own country. They're not even going to go back to Iran once Iran is bombed back into the Stone Age. So he listens to this, he goes in there, and then Iran responds. One, Iran is very resilient. Iran's regime does not collapse. They fight back hard. They hit the region very hard, and then they basically shut down the Strait of Hormuz, raising the price of oil, which is going up again. It has gone up today by 2%, I think, or 1.5%. It's about $111. It was $65 when the war started, occasionally hitting 119, $120 per barrel. If you're looking for it, just Google Brent oil price and you can see it for yourself in real time. So Donald Trump is trying his best to force Iran to surrender, and in spite of 5 6 weeks of fighting, that hasn't happened. On a separate note, today the U.S. military has performed an amazing act of rescuing the second pilot or the arms officer who was actually a colonel of rank. And so it's a story of great bravery as to how he evaded capture, went up the mountain, and how the CIA tracked him, misled the Iranians, and then the U.S. helicopters and missiles, they went in deep into Iranian territory and rescued the U.S. pilot. That's an absolutely fantastic story about the bravery and the competence of American army and American soldiers. In fact, one of the things that I've been pointing out in my shows is that the US has a brilliant military. It has very dedicated military officers, but it has a stupid politicians. I mean, look at the career of General Randy George, who was fired by Pete Hegseth. Go and look at Pete Hegseth's career and look at General George's career and tell me, uh, isn't that one guy is brilliant and brave and the other guy is stupid and dumb? The Trump administration is full of clowns, really, and they are firing them. You can see how they are being removed. They are even incompetent for Donald Trump. But anyway, let's get back to Donald Trump's frustration. He's unable. He was hoping that the Iranians would surrender within a week, and he would get whatever he wanted, and he would install this Raza Pahlavi, a clown, as king of Iran, who will then bow to Israel, and Israel will, whatever Israel wants, Iran will get. You know, he wants a leader like Prime Minister Modi in Tehran, who will stand there and say, with full confidence, I say that I stand with Israel. That's the kind of leader they want. So this is what Donald Trump posts on his social media today, on a holy day of Christians, the Easter. He says, and I can't even read it here, otherwise YouTube will sanction me. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the Trump Strait, you crazy Trumps. or you will be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald Trump. So basically, he uses two expletives. He uses dirty language, unparliamentary language, and he mocks Allah. So much for his friends in the Middle East. I hope people like MBS and MBZ and the Qatari Prime Minister, who are so friendly with Donald Trump, who have invested literally billions of dollars in his son in law's company or private equity fund. I hope they are watching this and are thrilled that Trump is mocking God and by saying, praise be to Allah. It's an insult to Muslims. Anyway, this is the state of his frustration that he's not even able to control his language. Donald Trump is the profound frustration with this war. This is a war of choice. This is his war. He chose to do it. The US intelligence community told him very clearly there's no imminent threat to the United States. Tulsi Gabbard said that Iran had discontinued the policy to pursue a nuclear weapon. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the late Ayatollah, had actually issued a fatwa against nuclear weapons. So there was no threat to the United States, but he chose to ignore his own intelligence community. And now he's talking of sending ground troops into Iran. In the last 48 hours, Iran has shot down 4 of the US aircrafts have been destroyed. Well, 2 by the US itself. But they shot down an F-15, they shot down an A-10, and they damaged a few helicopters which are involved in the rescue. So the US now unleashing, that's what Donald Trump has promised, that if they don't get a ceasefire in the next 48 hours, that is, I think, by morning of Tuesday, he is going to unleash hell on Iran. Basically, he is actually saying that he's going to commit war crimes by destroying civilian infrastructure. He's going to target power plants and he's going to target bridges. Israel has already hit pharmaceutical factories, and they have already hit a girls' school in which over 160, I think 168 to 170 young women, young children have died. Those are war crimes. In fact, Pete Hegseth fired 3 generals of the US Army, including the Chief of Army Staff, the highest ranked general, General George, because he refused to commit these war crimes. In fact, there's a meme floating around here in the US describing Pete Hegseth not as Secretary of War, but Secretary of War Crimes. And all of these guys pretend to be, all of these guys pretend to be very Christian, very holy, very pious, very virtuous, and moral. And look at this. The Pope is completely against it. He's condemned it. Both J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio are Catholics. They seem to respect the morality of Donald Trump more than the morality of the Catholic Church and even their Pope. Wonder what kind of Catholics they are. But there is some interesting news coming out, and let me share that with you. Axios has posted that the Iran mediators make last push for a 45-day ceasefire. So basically, this is the initiative that Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister Isa Khadar was pursuing with Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister. So they had issued, if you remember, a 5-point peace plan that I had discussed with you guys. So it looks as if it's a building up on that. What they are suggesting is a 2-part plan. And in the first part, there will be a ceasefire, an immediate ceasefire for 45 days, which will be followed. In those 45 days, they will basically try to negotiate a final peace process. But what was interesting, according to this report, is that neither Iran giving up the 1,000 pounds or 400 plus kilos of enriched uranium that it has. It does not require that for the ceasefire, nor does it require Iran to completely open up the Strait of Hormuz, to open it up entirely. So this is an interesting development. I don't know whether Donald Trump is going to accept those 2 conditions, because if there is a ceasefire, then and Iran continues to control the Strait of Hormuz, it will look as if the US ran away and Iran has won the battle. I don't think Donald Trump wants to convey that image. But as far as Iran is concerned, uh, they have a big problem. What is the guarantee that the United States and Israel will not attack again? About half an hour ago, an Iranian missile hit Haifa. This is one of the pictures of a building that was destroyed in Haifa. There are all kinds of reports coming out. We don't have a final report that 11 people were injured, or 2 or 4 dead, and one person's body or person has not been found yet. So, but what is interesting is that we I was on Al Jazeera live when this happened. So while I was commentating, we were interrupted by this particular news that a missile has been launched and it's heading towards. First, they said it's heading towards West Bank and northern Israel, and then even during the show, then they said that the missile hit Haifa. Uh, so it was just one missile, and it was not stopped. What happened to the Iron Dome? What happened to the Patriot missiles? What happened to THAAD and all of that? So it appears that the defense system of Israel is not holding up as well as they thought. So there must be a lot of pressure even on the Israelis to have some kind of a ceasefire so they can build up or rebuild their defense system. I don't know what the point of this ceasefire is. I can understand why Donald Trump wants it. He's not getting his victory. This is not Venezuela. He can't parade and stomp around. He's constantly bragging about what a great achievement he has had. And he says, I've destroyed Iran's this and that capabilities. And half an hour later, Iran simply makes him look like a fool and a liar. Even the MAGA crowd, who's basically quite stupid to listen to him, and they just watch Fox News, which does not fully report what is going on. Even they should be able to read stuff on X or in the newspapers and realize that what Donald Trump is claiming in his speeches and his constant media presentations, that is not the case. Iran continues the Strait of Hormuz. So if you destroyed their navy and their air force and their military, then how is Iran holding on to Strait of Hormuz? How is it blocking that? Number one. If you have destroyed all its ballistic missile capabilities, then how is Iran hitting Haifa as it did just now? So these are some of the serious questions. Uh, it really frustrates me as an American, to put American soldiers in harm's way for the interest of another country, and then not plan it well. Uh, this is really, really trouble. See, one of the good things about a democracy is that the military is under civilian control. That is the good thing about a democracy. These generals are not making decisions, like in Pakistan, for example. But the decision to go to war or not should be that of the political leader who is elected and legitimate. But how to fight the war, I think, should be left. The planning part should be left. The nitty gritty should be left to the soldiers who have to actually execute this plan. So go and tell them these are our objectives of this war. This is what I want. Can we do it? And if the military says yes, go ahead. If the military says no, then rethink. But unfortunately, increasingly, politicians in democratic societies are not only getting involved in deciding whether to go to war or not, which they should, that is their job, but they're also getting involved in rules of engagement and how the battle should be fought, etc., making military people less and less in charge and therefore making more and more mistakes. The US is by far the most powerful country. There's no comparison at all. Nobody can do what the US did today, for example, going into enemy territory and bringing back 2 pilots over 2 days apart. Okay, so they are brilliant at intelligence. They have tremendous technology. They have extreme capabilities. However, they are failing politically. The U.S. invaded Afghanistan, wanted to make it a democracy, and 25 years later it left and left the same Taliban back in charge, as if nothing has changed. And the same in Iraq, same in Vietnam. The U.S. has failed consistently. It's not able to translate its military capabilities into political victories. That is because they are not thinking this through. We have a brilliant military and a dumb political setup. no doubt about that. And that is why the United States is winning all tactical battles but losing the war. If you remember my article that was published 2 days ago in the Hindu, a very prominent newspaper in India, that basically says that that basically says this, that look, yes, the US is winning all tactical battles undoubtedly. However, what is happening is that it is losing the strategic battle because none of the strategic goals that the US has set for itself has it achieved. And this is something that is really, really frustrating Donald Trump. So, this is the article that I'm talking about. It was published in the Hindu just 2 days ago. Iran may be losing the battles, but it might still win the war. And if Donald Trump and Iran agree to the ceasefire agreement that Axios is reporting, Iran is going to come out a champion. They're already making a lot of money. They are already making a lot of money from, because what has happened with Strait of Hormuz, that it is not closed. It is only closed for non-Iranian ships. And whoever Iran chooses to allow, they have an agreement now with Philippines, so they may allow the Philippines ships to go through. They have allowed a couple of Indian ships to go through. They have allowed about 20 Pakistani ships. They're allowing two per day for 10 days. And that is also as a signal to the United States. And but Iranian oil to China is going through the strait, but Iran is making more money on it right now. So that is the fascinating aspect of this whole war to me. So the story is this: whether by Monday, that is today in India and Iran and other places, it's still 13 minutes to midnight here in the US. But anyway, by the end of April 6th, uh, there has to be a ceasefire, or on April 7th, Donald Trump is saying he's going to start committing war crimes by destroying schools and universities, not university, bridges and power. But Iran is not going to sit back. It is going to strike back at the civilian infrastructure of the Gulf states. So you can expect Iran to target desalination plants and power plants and oil fields of the Gulf countries. In the end, Iran and the Gulf countries will be destroyed. This war, whatever happens, yes, Donald Trump may be humiliated. Maybe he will lose the midterm. Maybe he will get impeached. But that's damage to one person. But Iran, it could lose its infrastructure, and but at the end of it, it's quite possible Iran could still come out a relative winner by holding on to the Strait of Hormuz and then charging tolls and forcing other countries to pay $2 million per boat. It's also possible if the US were to withdraw, the Iranians could bully the Gulf countries to pay for the damages that they have suffered, which means that the poor Gulf countries would suffer damage, which they are, and then they may have to pay to Iran, and then they'll have to perhaps pay to US and Israel, who are going to bully them and demand that you pay for the war. There's already discussions like that going on here in the US to ask the Gulf countries as if they fought this war for the Gulf countries. And that is why the American press, the US government was leaking to Washington Post and other countries that the Saudi prince, Mohammed bin Salman, and other Gulf countries were pressing America to attack Israel because they want to take the blame away from Israel. They want to blame the Arab countries, saying, well, they also wanted us to attack Iran. And they are saying either you attack and remove the regime or don't attack. And now that they have attacked, they want the US to continue. That's what the American government is leaking to the press here. I don't hear very vocal no's from the. I would love to hear NBC come on and say, I never said that to Trump, or the Qatari prime minister to say that Washington Post is completely wrong, it is lying. So the Gulf countries probably are going to suffer a lot in this financially and otherwise. Plus, the aura of peace around the Gulf has been shattered. So the foreign direct investment that has come into, especially Dubai in the last few years, I'm not very sure that will continue to come in, because if it looks as if there is no resolution to this war, it just dies because the countries fighting it are tired, and if there's no formal ceasefire and formal end of war, then it is quite possible that it will continue in this way. Anyway, I have some interesting news. I will be doing a show at in 40 minutes from now. It will be in Hindi and English for people who are watching in India. There's a debate going on in the United States. It is about immigration. So there's a lot of anger towards immigration, and a lot of it has turned against Indians. So I'm going to talk about how there are some Indians who are attacking Indians themselves. So there's a lot of hatred, Hindu phobia, you can call it, Islamophobia, Indian phobia, xenophobia. All of this is increasing here in the United States. So I'm going to discuss a few of that. I'm going to show you some clips, some social media posts about how hatred towards India is increasing in the United States. And one of the reasons for that is Indians themselves or Indian Americans. There are some Indian Americans pretending to be white. It's so hilarious. And I want to show you that. So please come back at 12:30 a.m. US time if you are awake, or 10 o'clock India time, 10 a.m. And you can watch me live in Hindi and Urdu discussing that. I'll be happy. Meanwhile, I'll be happy to answer if there are any interesting questions or comments from people here. I see a lot of members here. Abhishek Tiwari, how are you? Well, because the United States is bent upon dominating the world, it has an aggressive foreign policy, it has the resources to back. So Americans think they can get away with anything and everything. And so that's why, and that's where they end up making mistakes because the politicians are not as sincere as one would have thought. They're corrupt, they are influenced by lobbies, a lot of money coming in from the lobbies. So basically, American politicians and American leaders have become, shall we use the word they use in India called dalal or brokers of American power. Give us money and we will use American power to pursue your goals. So there are lobbies giving America hundreds of millions of dollars and making America go to war and do other things. Jilani Sabun Sahab, mashallah, you're consistent and regular. Thank you very much. And walaikum salam to you. Uh, SMS, how are you? Oh, this is a very good question. I was listening to people today. A lot of American and Western commentators are saying that this war will probably make Iran at some point think very seriously about getting a nuclear weapon. And not just Iran, but other countries. Look, either the way Donald Trump and the US and Israel have been behaving, especially towards the Middle Eastern countries, is this: be our slaves, do whatever we want, and and simply be happy with whatever we do. If you don't do that, we will bomb you, we'll bomb you, we'll bomb you, we'll destroy your school, we'll kill your children, we'll destroy. Look at the amount of devastation Israel is causing in Lebanon because Lebanon is helpless, can't defend itself. They've killed over 1,200 people in Lebanon in just this war. They've killed over 2,000 Iranians. A lot of them are civilians. So they're basically, America is saying, we will kill your people, we'll destroy your infrastructure, we'll destroy your bridges, your power plants, we'll bomb you into stone age. These are war crimes, but who is going to impose this? There's an arrest warrant against Netanyahu, who's a war criminal. International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant against him, but is it stopping? He keeps coming to the White House all the time. Netanyahu is being here at least 13 times, to the White House at least 11 times. And Narendra Modi goes and gives him a hug, a war criminal. There's no consequences. Nobody's saying, my God, how can you do that? At least the Europeans have stopped him from coming to Europe. There are 120 countries where Netanyahu cannot go now. But still, that doesn't prevent him from doing what he's doing. So that is a challenge. So I think more and more countries are going to think about getting nuclear weapons. Maybe Turkey is also thinking of it. Maybe even definitely Iran, Saudi Arabia too. Maybe even Egypt. All right. Any interesting other comment? Good morning, SMS. What rule of law? I know might is right, as they say in Hindi, jiski lathi uski bans. So might has become right, and unfortunately, that is the scene at the moment. It was always the case. That's what the realists say, that the international system is anarchical. Well, liberals were the ones who kept talking about, international law, international. But it's the liberals who committed the genocide in Gaza. Joe Biden was the president of the United States. Anthony Blinken was the Secretary of State. Jake Sullivan was the National Security Advisor. They knew exactly what was happening. They knew that there was a genocide going on in Gaza, but they continued to give weapons, continued to give money, continued to give military advice, continued to give intelligence, and protected Israel from international censure. And Biden kept saying we have ironclad support. Nothing on earth can change our support to Israel, even if they committed genocide, because our support is ironclad. He kept saying that throughout the period of genocide. And other liberal democracies like Canada, Germany, United Kingdom, and India also sold weapons to Israel while it was killing women and children, more than 50,000 of them. These are liberals. So where is the rule of law? You tell me. Thank you for watching Conversations. Come back in 34 minutes and we will talk about the growing hate and how Indians are promoting hatred towards other Indians. Unfortunately, that really makes me very upset.